Hello, I'm Chris Athanas. I'm a KMP developer. Tech Support's coming out Tuesday. Close it up finally. Finishing up doing part two of my review of The Death of Agile by Alan Holub, which we discussed in the last one. He's got controversial takes on certain things, and I like his takes in generally, but some of his stuff I need to add some nuance to, and that's what this is about, because I find myself yelling at the screen and yelling at the screen, which has no point at all. I yell at this camera, and you guys can enjoy my rants if you like or not. That's fine.
Of the Sturm und Drang that happens when you're one day off.
Okay.
So all of the guarantees that you'll get about building valuable software, they're gone. And then they put in the rigid time blocks, which they call a sprint, which is also a huge waste of time. Think how much.
Pointless. Okay, our production process, useful. Yes, for coordinating things, showing up and not showing up, and giving some sort of cadence to the giving some sort of breaking up the monotony of the machining process, the production line process. Yes, makes sense there, but not in knowledge work. When we don't know how long it's going to take, it may not get there. Just let us know how long you can give us, and we will work. We will do our level best to work within that constraint, or make some sort of progress, or say, "Oh, this is not happening. This looks years away, or months away, or just days away." Or we're almost there. We got a good beat on some things here. We eliminated a bunch of stuff that we knew that we thought would work is definitely not going to work. So we're doing this other thing. Like, do you want to keep going? It's like, well, we're out of money. Well, all right, we have to try again later. Or that's just how the dice is rolled. Well, there's no solution. Oh, yes, sometimes you have to take the L.
How much waste there is in trying to size a story so you can do it in a 2-week sprint. And think of all of
Ridiculous.
The Sturm und Drang.
So much emotional strife just around this point, get it in the sprint, put it into the end thing. That is completely unnecessary in knowledge work and counterproductive. We found it with the numbers are in. The numbers are in, folks. This stuff is all counterproductive as fuck. It is totally for a different kind of company. Maybe we're doing some legacy thing. Even then, I don't know if that stuff works. It was for the managers who didn't have anything better to do. Those managers need to train up for adventure-driven stuff. To be involved with adventure-driven stuff, and true what Agile was trying to describe, without giving any prescription. Which I'll give you a little bit of prescription. I'll give you some ideas of things that I've seen that work in here. I'm not gonna just leave you cold like Agile did, where they had to fill in with Agile TM trademark coaches. and Scrum masters. Are you serious? Another manager? Oh man, this stuff is just so bad. Like that had nothing to do with Agile, that Scrum stuff, and all these different labels for all these different things. Wow, how did that get jammed in there? It's unknown. Well, I know how. It's just because they had nothing better. They didn't have any way. Like, how do you do this? And this had to be sold to managers, right, for the Agile transformation. And so they had to put the meeting stuff in there for them. They put it in there for them because they didn't have anything to do. They didn't want to go train to be a UI UX. They didn't want to learn to do copy. They didn't want to do sales. They didn't want to do marketing. They didn't want to go talk to the customer. They didn't want to set up a website. They didn't do photography, the artwork, UI design, like to design some screens. How should this work for our customers better? As you talk to them on the phone, you're doing sales. Come on.
Wrong that happens when you're one day off. Right? We're at the end of the sprint, but there's still one more day's work to do. And that's such a hassle that often people don't do that.
Oh, I'm just going to stop thinking about what I've been thinking about for the last 2 weeks. As if that's possible. Now, I don't know how these managers even got away with thinking this. I know how it happened. It's the sales guys. The sales guys told the managers that they're going to fix their broken process if you come in and do our month-long Agile transformation, and everyone has to do these rituals. Well, all you got to do is the rituals? Yeah, just do the rituals. All you have to do is code the thing in, and you'll be the next Google. Promise. Now, give me $10,000 up front, and then I don't have to be a guarantee, and I'm gone. I'm out of here. Bye. Later. See ya. Good luck with the Agile.
A day's work, and you end up with buggy software. And that's just not okay. So this is flying in the face of agility also.
Better than nothing at the time.
Doesn't work. The next problem has to do with the certification mills, which produce certificates, which have no value at all.
Absolutely.
You take a 16-page Scrum guide, you read through it. So I've spent an afternoon curled in front of the fire with my Scrum guide. I go online, I take a completely automated test, which is graded by a computer, comprised of 35 multiple choice questions. I get a grade of 60%. I don't know about you, but when I was in elementary school, 60% was considered a failing grade. But if I get a failing grade, that's good enough. I get my certificate. I am a master now.
And this has driven the whole time. People think they're doing tech jobs. People think that they're a Scrum Master if they took this 16-page Scrum guide and 68 questions, 24 questions, low license thing. I first ran across this Scrum thing when I came back to development after I did a sold my company, did an exit, and took a little time off, and then came back and they had doing all this Scrum stuff. I was like, what the hell is all this crap? And they had to, of course, they danced and dipped and dodged around the answer. It's basically you're just doing a checklist. You're looking at our to-do list. What is this? We can call the meetings. We know the meetings are happening. We have a calendar on it. We can do it on our calendar. We'll know who's supposed to be there. We're adults here. It's like, oh, kindergarten, come on. You have to do the thing. Could you shave a point off of that? And then the shaving points thing, come on. And saying like, okay, it's not time, but it definitely is time. It's like, this is so ridiculous. So much energy, so much bad feelings, so much just feeling defeated. Trying to be positive in these meetings. Where why are you here? You are not doing anything except making our lives worse. Scrum Masters, Jesus Christ.
The problem is that those corporations think of this as some kind of diploma. They think of the certificate as being meaningful.
Because that's all they know. That's all. When that's what they've been sold to. That's the other thing. It's not because they just think it. No, they've had hard sells. Hard. At these conferences with these book-driven stuff, people and these people selling these agile transformation to fix their totally fucked up, stale, stuck business development process. They can't motivate their people. They don't know how to get them to do the stuff. They're making think they don't know how to put it together. They have no idea. So yes, they're totally desperate. So I wonder where they got the ideas from. I mean, all the salespeople were like, all we gotta do is tell them to take this course, and they'll all go for it, and I don't have to like actually prove anything after the fact or have any responsibility for what happens next. Really? Oh, I'm sold. And that's what made the whole fucking industry.
As they do that, what you get is something that is actively destructive. Because if you imagine that the guy that has a certificate is competent and he's not, and things don't work, you don't blame the guy. You blame the things
that... Agile doesn't work. No, that has nothing to do with Agile, man. Agile's four sentences. So you can't blame the Agile. You might have got scammed. You think? You might have got scammed by the Scrum Master licensing agency who's going to come in and solve all your problems with an Agile transformation over a month long. Come down, do a weekend retreat, and they get you all tooled up. Maybe you got took.
He's supposed to be competent in doing. You say Agile doesn't work.
There's
you don't
so
say
much tech simpery. There's so many people just falling for everything, just assume everything's, it's on the up and up. Why would they lie? Not that there's millions of dollars involved. Now, when I was involved, there wasn't millions of dollars involved. People were just like, this is goofy. Why are you messing with this? This is silly. You should do something serious. This isn't real work. This isn't real stuff. But then when the money came into it after the 2000s, and then 2008 or so, they started pumping it in there. And all these people came out of the woodwork like thinking money. It's like they wanted to get involved somehow. And they wanted to go the quickest, fastest route. And so they became a Scrum Master. And they got in charge of the meetings and caused all kinds of chaos. It was totally useless.
Certified Scrum guy didn't actually know what he was talking about. So certification is not only meaningless, it is actively destructive.
Yeah.
Especially when companies use certification as a criteria for hiring.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't tell them anything useful.
It doesn't.
They bring in people that don't know anything about agility.
But they've been told by the sales guys that is useful. So it's not really because they're just wailing around. He's not involved in all the meetings, even though he's an Agile coach, Scrum certifier. So maybe he is, though. He's just not saying it, right? Maybe he's not just saying it. I don't know. He's got to be aware. This is all driven by some slick guy that just he was at the pool. He was managing a pool store before, or we're selling used cars a few weeks ago, and his friend told him about the Scrum certification. All you have to get in there, and you can make $100,000 by convincing people to take your course. It's so bad. It's so bad. Of course, the tech simps are like, well, I guess this guy really knows, even though he's never touched a line of code in his life, has no idea about anything, doesn't know computer science, never heard of it, doesn't know anything about any of this stuff, but he's going to fix your development process. Oh, okay.
They imagine that there's somehow Agile. It just doesn't work.
Completely retarded.
Now, the worst case of this is SAFe.
Yeah,
the problem with SAFe is that SAFe is...
This was the cherry on the cake. This SAFe stuff. This completely convoluted mess of But the corporate people, they love it. The preservers who have a checklist of their development process, they got the product in the pipeline they need to get out. They have people coming in. They have sold this thing a while ago, and they're behind on the schedule. They want a way to fix it. So bad.
It's designed to be acceptable to a corporation.
Yeah.
But it's not. Safe that.
No, it's terrible. It's awful. It's just,
in other words,
it's just another head fake to kick the can down the road until they figure out, well, this safe thing's not really doing. Well, you're doing it right. Do you have all the cadences of all the sync? Have you synced up all the teams and all the different routes and all the things for doing the development? Have you? Maybe you just need to tune that in. Maybe we come in and help you out a little bit and tune up that section. It's like, no, we've had your tunings. We've done your six rounds of tunings. It's still messed up. It's not working as well. Should come in and you keep talking. They keep selling you more stuff. And here we are today. When there's these massive companies that have all this stuff running, that's been like this is widespread, the industry standard, best practice. So they're all doing this foolishness, and you can't tell them, hey, just cut that shit out, But they can't because they're addicted to it. They can't. So there's a huge opportunity as a KMP developer. If you're not seeing that there's a huge opportunity here to just cut through all that junk and go right for the problem and right for the customer solution instead of dicking around with all this baloney. It's so goofy.
It's just the same old, same old. At the bottom, you've got Scrum, which is barely agile. In the middle, you've got the same old stuff that you always used to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we haven't accomplished anything real here. We looked at those flat hierarchies a moment ago. You don't have a flat hierarchy in SAFe.
Well, they got his cousin and his uncle in the business now. They're certified Scrum Master or product manager. Because they got a certification.
It's the same old corporate hierarchy that you ever had. All the governance stuff is still in place. It's not real. And it's not necessary. Agile scale is just fine. We saw that with Spotify.
Well,
why do we need to do this special thing? And it's because
we did not see. So Alan, this is one of the reasons why people might not like you so much, because you did not verify that, because nobody did. And if you would have verified it, you would have found out that was not even real. So this is one of the reasons why this Agile coach stuff is a little snake oil. You maybe should stop selling stuff completely. And maybe just give advice, and if somebody wants to bring you in and talk about some things, maybe that'll be appropriate. There's no more certifications. There's no guarantees. We're gonna fix all your processes, but if you just do all the cadences of all the meetings and do the checklists that we give you, no, that can't be it. That can't be it. It never was it. It never was it.
Because again, the corporation is a cargo cult. They can't imagine taking a big project and breaking it up into smaller projects.
Well, because that's real super hard, man. Where's the lines? Where do you divide them up? And how do you communicate between these teams? Do you have any idea? Nope, that's not part of this at all. That's what I thought. See, that's what I thought they came up with. When I came back and they had all this Agile stuff, I was like, oh, they figured out how to scale and make everybody super, like have authority and responsibility, and they could change the process and talking to the customer. Nope. They just cut all that shit out that actually was working, that all the startups I had worked at, that my startup did it, and all the startups I had worked at before, we're doing it because there was none of this Agile stuff. It was just, let's try and make something. Like, can you get it to the screen? Okay, you got the art. You have the how do we get it up there? And it wasn't. And then we showed it to people. People think it's fun. It's like, no, this sucks. And over here, this thing doesn't work. Oh, you have to do this differently. And like, oh, you put this over here, put that over this. Oh yeah, okay. All right, ship it. Let's go. And you better make sure it's tested. Look at it. Make sure it's running okay. Nothing's crashing. Okay, ship it. There was that level of thing. And then if you're getting sales, okay, constantly do another version of it. Or it's like, oh shit, we're out of business. That was how it went. None of this Agile. See, that's what I thought you had figured out, like scaling that process up. I thought, because that's how they were talking about. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to fix all the problems. All you do with these meetings and this schedule time and all these processes over people, blah, blah, all this other stuff. Now, same old crap. It even got worse than the waterfall. It was worse than the waterfall. People thought they were doing something. They had a lot of activity. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of meetings were in and out of that damn meeting room every 5 seconds, doing every goddamn meeting. Another meeting, another meeting, another meeting, another meeting, another meeting. Hey, when am I going to work on the fucking code? We're going to have a meeting about the meeting, about the meeting, about the meeting, Can we just do this by email? Why do we have to be in this room together? Is that really, really, really important? We've already talked about what we're doing. We all know what we're doing. We're not at the part where we're talking about everything. We're at the part where we're actually doing stuff. Do we have to have all these goddamn meetings? Like, this is Agile.
So this is fake Agile. This isn't real Agile. Now, mixed into this is a whole set of tool vendors who are supporting this dysfunction.
Absolutely.
Is that all of these tools force you into working in an old style.
Well, these tools have salespeople associated with them. Yeah, would you think of that? Would you look at that? They got a bunch of salespeople who are promising, because they're hearing the customer complain, which is these managers, complain about their busted ass process that they're trying to micromanage and get their fingers in somehow. They don't have any idea how it's going to work, but they're trying to get their fingers in. They're doing bit programs. They're hiring people, but they're hiring contractors. They're having your rock star wizards come in. They charge them 6 times their normal salary to fix all the bugs that were all made by 16 people trying to do everything at the same time because we need to get 9 women pregnant to get that baby out in a month, right? Is that what we're trying to do? Okay.
Way is that what they're doing is taking waterfall style management and trying to impose that on top of Agile process.
Absolutely.
By doing ridiculous things like burn down charts.
Absolutely, because that's what these managers who are just recently working at the pool store, that's what they've been told in their MBA programs, that every business is the same. It's just a production business. It's just you have inventory and you have a production line. And you have everything. You can split the lines up. Every line's the same. Every worker's the same. They're doing the same. Running the same machine. Yes, but that's not what we're doing with software. We're not doing a production line. The production line is already solved. So when we have it on the server and people download it, that's our production line. It's completely perfect. But what are we producing? That becomes the problem. So it's now a knowledge issue. Knowledge work. This is knowledge work. So how do you handle knowledge workers? They don't fucking know. All they can see is what happens to people who ignore all the best practice bullshit and go off on their own and do the thing. And they should come up with it. Well, how'd you do this? Well, we talked about it, and we can do this thing. And so we put this over here. It's like, well, can't we just copy that and we'll get the same results? Like, no, you won't, because it's knowledge work. We're trying to find out what widget to be made. Not let's make a bunch of widgets that we already know how to make. That's fucking a solved issue. Completely solved issue. Figuring out what people want. Well, how do you find that out? Okay, there's all kinds of stuff involved with that. That's context. That's perspective. That's taste. That's talent, experience, culture, politics, art. I mean, what isn't it? It's all that stuff. And how you make some product or service that goes easier, faster, funner, more enjoyable for the customer than the exact same thing that they're doing. This is not rocket science, right? But why do people avoid it? Because it's very scary. Because you don't know. It's undetermined. You can't dial it in. There's no dial. I can't dial it in. Oh, it's your personality. Your approach. What it is, all of these things that are not quantifiable. Oh, I can't put a number on it.
Waste of time. Is you spend more time entering data into this thing than you get useful information out of it. And that time is a waste.
But you have activity that makes the managers feel comfortable because there's no production line process. They feel like they have a production line going. When they don't, knowledge work is not a production line. Sorry. It's not.
It's time not spent providing direct customer value. What do you need when you do Agile in the way of tools, right? What is Agile exactly? And the thing is that Agile is basically very, very simple. What Agile is, first of all, is that it's a culture.
Oh, so they got this whole culture revolution shit. So we just do culture, license, certification, and transformation, culture transformation. The culture comes with people doing adventure-driven stuff, who have an idea of they have an idea. It's one of these guys here who sees, who's heard of a cave opening, and he's going to try and make an attack at it. And he's just find the dragon inside. This is the customer and all their objections. And he has to meet all the objections before you get the golden chalice. And you picture this thing from a monster into a little pet. You feed it, you pet it, and it gives you gold. I mean, what is that? I mean, that's what we're doing. And so the adventure's just like, how do you copy the adventure? Well, you got to have guts, man. Courage. You have courage and creativity. Oh, that's how you train that? You don't. You have someone that's willing to go through all the bullshit you guys set up and still be wanting to go up here and make an attack on this thing because you can make a very nice living in one of these dev agencies who will solve your development problems. Like, we failed. Can you do it for us? Like, yeah, we can, but we're going to charge the shit out of here. Because we're actually delaying. These guys are delaying their run because they're solving the same damn technical bug one after and over and over and over and over again that's just stumped you guys.
And the culture is the most important thing, not the process. And again, I'm not saying process isn't important, but a specific process is no better than any other specific process, provided that it's working out within a culture of agility.
Correct.
So for Agile to work, you have to put the proper culture in place, which is to say that Agile infusion...
That means that you're telling the managers to give up their power? Oh, that's not going to go over very well.
In order to be functional, has to come from the top down. It is the CEO's job to manage the culture of the organization.
Right.
So if the CEO...
How do they learn it? Do they know anything about adventure trip? Have you even heard of it? Probably not. They probably just like look at the Steve Jobs like, how did they do that? Well, you didn't see all the bullshit these people went through and how obsessed they are. Like, if you were around them, they're kind of dicks and kind of like assholes because they just have one fucking thing on their mind is that thing that they're doing. If they're not part of it, not doing it, get out of the fucking way. So they're hard to be around. Being around these people is very difficult unless you're in the mode. Unless you're in the same mode, then it's fucking awesome. And how do you do that with the culture? Are you in the mode, sir? Or you want to get your Lambo and 3 weeks on the beach and call it in from the remote, not show up, not be pulling tickets, not be trying to do sales? Or you think you're going to be doing an adventure trip without doing some grunt work out down on the ground, on the dirty work? Come on.
Does not understand.
That's what these people don't want. They got their MBA from Harvard or wherever the fuck. And they want to just phone it in. And then when I tell the pals, look at me, I'm a tech guy. Boop, boop, doop, boop, boop, doop. They don't want to get dirty in the pit, man. But they want the glory. It's like, man, you can't get the glory without taking all the risks that you may fucking fail. You're probably going to fail. Like, oh, can't do that. That's crazy. I need my Lambo today.
Understand what agility is about. There is no way that he or she is going to set up a culture that supports it.
Oh, no.
So culture is central.
Not possible.
The second issue is trust. Everything in Agile depends on trusting people to do their job. In other words, you don't have managers. Well, why do you have managers? It's because I trust people to do work.
Now, come on. This is why you can only do adventure driven with a very small number of people. Because, yeah, we're all trusting each other. And if it fails, we all fail, right? If any of us fails, doesn't do our thing, or just phone it in, we're all done. And we all kind of know that because it's got a time limit on this sucker. And you're asking your managers to trust your junior employee? Come on, this is so silly. But he is describing it. He's not prescribing it. It's like, if you don't have this the kind of thing running already, you're not going to install it. You're telling these managers to give up control to these junior people who really don't deserve it because they don't know what the hell they're doing also. Or maybe they do, but managers are not going to let go of that stuff. Come on.
I don't need to sit there with a bullwhip and crack it over their heads in order to get them to work.
Yeah, pit plan.
I trust them. And you get trust up and down the chain. I don't need to make them get sign-offs in order to go to a conference because I trust them to assess their abilities, understand that if they go to the conference, they can increase those abilities, and then let them go.
And we're adventure-driven. He's going to be right there in the pit. He's going to see, like, hey, man, we're this thing that we identify this thing we need to get or go to or go find out or go look into or go discover. It's going to become very apparent. And everyone involved is going to be like, yeah, it's the place to go or that's not it. And it's not this super corporate thing. See, he's still in this corporate mode because that's his clients because he knows they got the money, and they're also got the most pain because they won't let go, and they won't let go of their MBA, and they have never heard of this knowledge worker thing. Where every business is just a production line process. Everybody can be just a cog in the machine, just pop them in and pop them out, pop them in, pop them out. Maybe we can ship them over to India or offshore somewhere. Oh, yeah, that's really going to work, guys. Come on.
It's all about trust. The other issue is that the things on the left here, communication, simplicity, courage, all these values and principles, inform the things on the right, the practices. Is that the practices exist because the principles exist. And the principles exist because the values.
I didn't know about that stuff, but that makes sense. So he's got communication, simplicity, courage, feedback, rapid feedback, embrace change, incremental change, acquire simplicity, quality, whatever that means. Quality. Some of this stuff is very vague, but yeah, it's like this is kind of where I'm coming from. It's like these core values that will express out in how you approach a problem, especially adventure driven. It's like the core ones are courage and creativity. If you're too scared, I'm too scared. It's like don't do it. It's not for you. Go down the pit, grind it out with these corporations, and hopefully you'll survive and you'll be not burnt out enough to want to keep going to do the adventure.
Exist. So unless you have those principles and values in place, the practices that you come up with are not going to be functional. So we get back to the principles, to the basic principles, is that everything depends on, ultimately, communication and simplicity and courage and feedback. And if you don't have that inside the organization as a whole, then you can't really do functional work.
Well, you can't do agile work, or you can't do this adventure-driven work. You're gonna be doing waterfall stuff. Punching a ticket that somebody else designed that you have no idea how this fits in. You're just gonna do your best to try and just shoehorn that thing in there somewhere.
Is everyone following what I'm getting at here? This is probably the most important thing that I can say, is that the culture is more important than anything, and that the principles are more important than the practice.
Yeah, but he's like the culture. So how do you install a culture? How you gonna hang out with him for a couple years? You're gonna bring him on the summer vacation back when you were a kid and you saw that arcade game for the first time, and you were wowed by it, and it gave you an thing. He's like, oh, I want to try that to make that someday. Okay, hiccup on the dang computer. Here we go.
And that any practice that works in the framework of the principles is a good practice, at least from an Agile point of view. The process itself is very simple. You start off by talking to your customers and find out what they need.
I agree.
And then you break off a small chunk of that, and you build it, and you give it to them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, this is great. Hold on. Oop. Oh, all right. I'll get that taken care of.
Everything else is icing. And you do this on a small loop, right? That loop is a 2-week loop.
Or a 1-week loop, or a 2-day loop, or a 7-week loop. However the loop it is that long takes to do this, it's inside how long you've got set up to go. Who cares how long it takes? Why does it have to be 2 weeks? Why does it be 1 week? As soon as it's done. You want to get it done? Because you have a time limit you're working against. I mean, why is it got to be 2 weeks? Get rid of that Scrum idea. That Scrum shit that's like infects people's brains. Like, you should be able to do this in 2 weeks. It's like, no, I don't know how long it's going to take, man. When I'm done, I'll let you know. How's that? Why is it got to be 2 weeks?
And the reason it's a 2-week loop is because the general assumption of all the Agile processes is that people don't know what they need until they have something in their hands.
Okay, well, how's that to do with the 2 weeks, though? You answered a different question. You head fake me, Mr. Holub.
So upfront requirements gathering doesn't work because the requirements that you gather are never correct.
Correct. Well, no, they're correct while you gather them, and then when you build them, then you show the person, then we'll just adjust from there. Well, this is not, I mean, he's got to be more careful with his words a little bit.
So the process itself is very simple. The tools for the process are very simple. You need a whiteboard, you need some Post-it notes, you need some index cards and some thumbtacks, and that's it.
Or some electronic documents that simulate that stuff. What? That doesn't, you have to have an index card, you have to have a whiteboard. How about just a sketch pad, or notepad, we can share it together and we'll make it electronic so we can change it on the fly while we're working on it. Why has it got to be these physical things? He's such a boomer of this stuff.
If you're working remotely, maybe you'll mix a couple other things into this. You need some good communication software. You probably need to take that whiteboard and put it into a computer someplace.
I'll assume.
But that's inferior, actually. This Agile is all based on face-to-face communication. 2 people physically standing in front of a physical board will be able to do better work than 2 people working electronically.
Do you have proof of that, sir? Do you have proof of that? Are you sure? Because now we're going to record it and you have an AI analyze it and then let us do notes afterwards, so we don't take the notes afterwards. It'll do automatic note taking. Some stuff he's got to say. See, this is where the tech simpery has to stop. We have to start asking questions like, "Hey, man, do you have any proof of that? Did you run some programs?" Because he never mentions it ever. He's never. I've watched a lot of his hours and hours of stuff. He's never come up with that thing saying, "Yes, by having 2 physical people right next to each other on the board is 16.7% better than doing it over Zoom." Not once. No, it's not proven. He hasn't proven any of that.
The real problem with the electronic version is that it's hidden inside the computer instead of being sitting up on the wall where you can see it every day when you're walking by it.
We can print it out. Can we print it out? Do we have printers still? Ooh. Or we can just keep it on the monitor somewhere. Why is this a mystery? And if we're all inside the same ticketing system, like I use Git, the GitHub, the one that's built into GitHub is super. It's just a to-do list. You can keep it in there. What? There's documentation all in there. This is not difficult. This is kind of a solved issue.
So when it's hidden, you cannot think about it. If it's a physical thing, it's out there where you can think about it. So those are all the tools you need.
I mean, I get that, but we can just print it out, man. It's not that big a deal. Why are you making such a big issue of this?
And again, we go back to our corporations, and they're not thinking in these terms. They're thinking in terms of big, expensive tools because they've decided that that's what they need in order to handle this complexity that's completely.
Yeah, see, the knowledge work tools is just the laptop and people and having a physical space people can talk about these things. And I don't even know if the physical space is super necessary. I mean, there's a period of time when you need to get physically together with people just to get the communication rate up fast enough so you can get all in sync. But there's other times you don't need to be doing physical location for some of the stuff. I mean, be smart about it. You don't have to be, so the costs are flying people around if they're remotely located, because that's probably going to be how things are. Though that's expensive, but the tooling, it's free. Come on now. So the cost in these things is the time. Knowledge work is all about time because you can't fucking force this shit. As much as we would love to force it, it means you're going to have to hold the goddamn customer hostage. And every time you type a thing in, it's like, is this what you mean? Is this what you mean? Is this what it means? It's like, yes, no, that's not. Let me go home. It's like, how else would we know? We don't know. You're not like crystal ball readers. Like, we know exactly what's going to happen. We have to show it to somebody first. And how long does that take? That's how long does that take? That's how long it takes. Is how long it takes for the guy to come in, see the thing, respond to it. Get several people show to and respond to it, and then go, it's okay, like it, don't like it. What? This is, you can't speed that shit up. How do you speed that shit up?
Not necessary. And we don't need any of that. We need very simple things.
Yeah. The tools are simple, but the time takes forever. And it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating. I know you want to go faster, but how long it takes is how long it goddamn takes.
So we come back to the basic Agile principles. We finished the first one. Let's look at the other ones. Our main goal here is to produce working software. Now, over comprehensive documentation, there are still some corporations that have a documentation fetish, but they're getting to be less and less as time progresses. General rule of thumb is that if nobody's ever going to read anything, don't bother to write it.
Well, we have like support documents, but how to actually use the thing, you might have a little guide, but documenting every tiny little feature, I don't think that's what people want. They want to go to, if there's a problem, and they've already been through your training or whatever, or you show them how to do your demo. If there's a problem, they want to go figure it out. They don't want to go read through your goddamn manual for every little detail. That's old school, man. The new school is like, I got a problem. How do I fix it? And then that's what people want.
The vast majority of documentation is never read by anybody.
Correct.
So it's not valuable. It's waste. It's another example of waste.
Right. So when the customer support people should be writing the FAQ. So if that's your developer and you keep getting a couple questions 3 times in a row, write the FAQ. It's because people they don't want to talk to you, man. They would rather go to the FAQ first. And then they go down the thing and they have a little search thing where you have an AI agent, you ask the question, and if it knows about it already, it tells you. That's the documentation people want and will use and will refer to.
But by documentation, they don't just mean software documentation. They mean all paperwork inside the organization. Any kind of paperwork that's getting in the way of producing the working software is not desirable.
It depends on what it is. That board of all the events, that's a desirable piece of paperwork. So is that all? It's like you gotta get nuanced here, Holub.
You want to collaborate with your customers, not negotiate with them. Customers don't know what's hard. So they often ask for things that you can't build.
True.
Negotiation leads to dysfunction. I want you to do such and such. And I'm saying,
okay,
sure,
this
I'll have it
thing,
next week.
right. So what the negotiation happens beforehand, right? It's like, we want to try and solve this thing. And somebody goes, I think I might be able to do that with what I know and how I know it. I might have a solution. I might have done something in the past similar to it, or I've got some sort of skill set, some insight, or whatever. So those two people come together. And they go like, well, how long do you think it'll take? Well, I don't know. But I can tell you, if I get started, and it takes me a month or 3 months or 6 months, I'll be able to get something together, at least something running. And if it's in there, and if I find out sooner than that, I'll let you know, and we'll bail out of it, and we'll stop. But if I got something, and I'm coming up with stuff, it might take a month, it might take 2 months, and the guy goes, okay, I think I trust you. I think I've seen you prove that you could do something like that. It's like, okay, I'll give you the 3 months. You got 3 months. It's like, okay, we got 3 months. And that's when you go and you try and make it something happen in 3 months. And if you can't do it, you don't get there. You might fail. I don't know why this is so terrible that people just do not accept that failure is an option. People do. You can stop and back up and go do something else. and don't just go all the way to the end of the sprints and go, okay, we don't have it. It's like, well, why couldn't you tell us like 2 months ago? It's like, well, we thought you wouldn't let us keep going. We thought you'd fire us. Like, yeah, you might get fired, but at least you got your integrity. At least you got some sort of like your and you've got honesty. That's super rare in this world, and people like to work with honest people that care about like these things, saving money, saving time, working on the right stuff, not just freaking grifting.
It was to this effect a couple weeks ago. And then somebody comes in a few minutes later and says, I need this other thing. And you go, sure, I need 15 research assistants and a $7 million budget, and I'll have it for you in 8 years. And the person who's asking the question is often the same person. They don't know that one thing is hard and another thing is not hard.
Correct.
Well,
because most people that have these problems, they're not technicals. If they were technical, they'd be working on our problems, not their problems.
If you negotiate, the next thing that person is going to say, how about 3 years with 8 research assistants? And you go, no, well, maybe 4, right? And this is not solving the problem. For one thing, even the 15...
Well, you got to resource it. You got to figure out how much it's going to, like, if they give you can we see what happens? See, they're trying to see, they want to have the thing all the way till it's done, right? They don't want to do the whole process that what actually happens with all these little guesses. Does this work? Does this work? Does this? They don't see the fact that but behind the scenes, we're just guessing. We're guessing. Does it go this way? Is the mountain that way? Is the cavern over here? Is it over this next ridge? I don't know. Am I going to need snowshoes? Am I going to need a canoe? I don't know. Am I going to need ropes? Am I going to need a helicopter? I don't know. I don't know yet. So instead of saying, I don't know yet, there's like, oh, how does it take? You must have an idea of how it's supposed to all put together with your genius mind and mind reading abilities that can see the future. They want that answer, right? Because that's a production line answer. And you can answer that with a production line because you already have a product already made and you just know when it's just going to be put in production. You're number 16 in line. It's already made. We can do that part, but we don't have that part with knowledge work. We have to figure out what we're trying to make. And how long does that take? I don't know. How long does it take? How long does it take? I don't know. We can go a piece at a time. We can we'll do some UI sketches. We'll show some people that may be interested in the solution. And if we don't have it, we don't have it yet. If it's some super technical little detail thing that is either going to be solved or not solved, well, I mean, we can make some tries at it. And most of the things that we see are the results of thousands and thousands of experiments. And if you multiply it as millions of experiments, because there's all kinds of people trying to do the same thing, and only going to be a few that make it. That's just how the filter works. And it's brutal, man. Knowledge work is brutal. You may have just one success in your whole life. You might just get one right, and the rest of them are washouts. And that one right is perfect fun, perfectly good, perfectly great.
Research assistants in 5 years or 8 years is a guess. So negotiating is not going to help any. If you collaborate, though, you sit down and you go, no, that's a really hard problem. But if we make this little change, it turns into a really easy problem. Do you think that'll work? And then the guy who comes in with the idea says, well, yeah, maybe. But if we do this other little thing, maybe it'll work a little bit better.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And then you try and do that little thing. Well, we're going to try and do that little thing. And if it somewhat works, so we have 3 things we can try. We have 5 things we can try. We're going to try one, and we might get this from the second try, might get the third try. It might be taking 5 tries. But if we do the 5 tries and we don't have it by then, I would understand if you want to cancel, and we'll go find something else to do. I'll apply something, do something somewhere else. Adventure driven is scary. It's scary.
So this goes way beyond context.
It's failure.
This goes into the way that you work on a day-to-day basis. You need to be able to respond to changes at all levels. I just said a moment ago that if the word Agile applies to the process itself. If the process isn't working, change it.
Yeah.
The notion of retrospectives comes out of this.
I have yet to be in one of these Agile change that changed any of the process. Even after multiple times, like, hey, could we just have not 5 stand-ups a week? Could we just do 3? Huge, months-long negotiation. Go up the chain. People had to be okay, sign off. It's like, God damn, dude. Just to reduce 2 that we're already having on Slack. And then if there's some problem, we're going to talk anyway. With this Agile?
But the most functional Agile teams do not do retrospectives. Because a highly functional Agile team will instantly recognize that something's not working. Everybody will huddle together. They'll come up with a solution. They'll put the solution in place, and then they'll move on.
Correct. Yes. If the server is down, we need to get that thing up. And we're not going to do the pager dirty, or we decide not to do that. So we wake up in the morning, something's down. Kick it back, start it. Wait, what is this? This is not. Okay, so we showed the prototype to the customer. This color is wrong. This box over here doesn't make any sense. They want to put this thing over here. Okay, that's what we're doing now. No, okay, we'll have a retrospective at the end of the sprint. So save your comments till then. In the meantime, you could just do this. Just do it like this the whole time.
A retrospective is kind of a transitional measure. It's something that you need before you get good enough to be able to make those changes quickly.
Or why do we? So that's just a Scrum leftover Scrum bullshit. We had a retrospective after the sprint was over. Why don't you just talk about what's going on? Why do we have to have a retrospective? It's ridiculous.
Then there are the principles.
And the retrospective just goes on and on. Bitch session after this thing and the action items at the end. Do we actually are those added to the next sprint? Are those added as tickets to the next sprint? The things we found out in the retrospective, are they added to the next sprint? Do they become a priority? No. I've never had them ever become a priority. It's just a suggestion on the backlog. And just kept going. Unbelievable.
Let's look at just a few of them. The welcoming changes of requirement, even late in development. Right? And the basic notion of harnessing the change for the customers.
Yes, the whole time. It's not just late in development, the whole time, man. If you find out your shit don't work and there's some new algorithm that's going to fix your thing, like as you've been trudging through some new library, oh yeah, swap that puppy out. If it's going to solve your problem 99% instead of 82%, yeah, let's swap it out. Hey, we're going to have to do it anyway. And like, we have to show progress. That's just it's taking the chances to show the progress to get to the goal. Not we just find the libraries in the beginning and then they're stuck with them.
Competitive advantage is important here. Is that an Agile team is in a service role. It's their job to solve other people's problems. Not to do stuff because it's cool, and not to do stuff because it's techie and it makes them feel good, but to do stuff because it improves.
Yeah, so that's all that Jira, all that like CI/CD, most of that stuff is like, we don't know how to set this up. It looks like you're doing something, but are you really solving the issue for the customer? Probably not.
It improves the bottom line to the customer, whoever that customer should be. The requirements are going to change. They always change. So setting up things where they can't change is not going to work. Another flaw in Scrum is they say once the Scrum starts, there will be no changes.
There will be no changes. That's what I thought when I first heard that. I was like, what do you mean? Once the sprint starts, it's like a race. It's like once you start the race, there can be no other racers. It's like, what? And so you start, like you get 2 days in, like some stopper that's like you're not going to be able to do. It's like, well, can't add any more tickets. Or you have to get permission to get some tickets from the Scrum Master. These people are crazy.
Well, what's that about? I'm 5 minutes into the Scrum and I realize that we got a requirement wrong and we can't change it.
It's a real thing. I can't believe people really, and they think they're doing the thing, man. They really think that they're, with this Agile Scrum bullshit, they really think they're doing tech work. This is a tech job. We're doing Scrum. It's like, you guys are crazy. There'll be no changes after the start of the sprint. People.
It's not going to work because you have to accept them at any point in the process. The developers and the business people are working together on a daily basis. That means they're in the same room with each other. That does not mean that they send memos back and forth.
Holy shit.
That does not mean that the business people ask nicely before they do something arbitrary anyway.
Yeah.
It means that they're on the team, literally. They're sitting in the same room.
They're not sitting in the same room. They're pulling tickets. If you're not pulling tickets, you're not on the team. If you're not pulling tickets, just go away. You've given us the time sequence. If you're not doing sales calls, if you're not writing copy, if you're not putting up websites, if you're not going to forums, you're not user groups, if you're not designing and trying to do meetups, what are you doing? You're seeing our Jira ticket burn down. Shut up.
You're talking on a day-to-day basis. The individuals are more important than anything, and that it is the job of the company to support the individuals.
Yeah, right.
If you have a situation where somebody has to argue...
I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. On adventure-driven, it's all the individuals. Hey, man, if you haven't picked your team well enough that has enough expertise to get this thing over the line to actually produce this thing, sorry, your adventure's over soon. Your adventure's about to come to an end. So you have to. So these people on the adventure. This is the other thing too. It's a little elitist. It's a little elitist because you know what? Who really wants to go dick around with this stuff, man? Who has got the guts to go dick around in these tar pits of seemingly good ideas? The tunnels of fake Agile doom, the Scrum Coach death marches, the cargo cults, The dungeon grind, Jira, burn down, slog, feature factories. Look at your shade of point off. You have to go through all this bullshit down here and pass by the silver horde, which you're going to get paid well for developing the skill sets to survive these things, enough to want to go do a run into the cave opening, trying to do all the objections with the customer, dealing with the dragon, all those things to get the gold cup. It's elitist. Yeah, it's very elitist because most people give up. Let's be real honest. Most people quit. If this is what software development's like down here in this bullshit, oh yeah, I understand you definitely want to get quitting. Oh yeah, because it's just so ridiculous. And then to actually make a run, risky as hell. You're gonna get beamed in the head by some rocks. You're gonna get thrown off. You're gonna have some tar thrown on you. You might be psychologically damaged afterwards.
In order to get the support they need to do their job, there's no way that you're going to have any agility. The constant pace issues have to do with the way, again, most corporations work. Deadlines, milestones, all of this stuff. What this is a way to manipulate people into working overtime.
Well, I mean, it could be. Or it could be like, okay, we only got this much amount of money and we have this much time. I'm only on vacation for 2 weeks. I need to find something I can make some sort of traction on this thing. I got 6 months of savings because I just got laid off from my job. I got to find something that's going to get me out of the next one of those things I was just involved in.
Company meals, high quality cafeterias inside the building. That's all manipulation.
I mean, it might work though. I mean, if you're getting somebody bringing you food and you got so much limited time, yeah, that may work out. And that intensity, there is a time and a place for it. Now, you can't keep going like that forever. You definitely will burn out, right? So adventure-driven, you want to try and find some kind of product market fit so you can slow down the pace a little bit and refine your process as opposed to like trying to get into it. But on the other hand, because you're small teams and you have a low burn because you might be doing this part-time or on the weekends or separately until you find the cave opening where you can do an attack run on the dragon. Maybe there's not this big pressure, but you still have to prioritize it. And there's other things we can do. We're curious people, right? There's lots of other things that are interesting in the world. So for me to let go of all that stuff and concentrate on this, man, it's got to be something that's kind of got to be a little thing that makes your heart sing. It can't be just phoning it in. It can't be it's not a corporate process. I mean, eventually you'll turn into one if you're lucky. But in the beginning, it's very risky, very scary, very much like, okay, this may not work. It probably won't. But along the way, you pick up skills for you might get caught in one of these things right here. You might get caught in a lead mine. You might get caught in a lava lake of direct competition. You might get caught in a target. But through these processes, if you survive them and still have some wanting to keep going and doing software development, which is understandable to bail out. A lot of people bail out because it's to be too much. But if you want to keep going, you want to make this run, it's super fun. And that's kind of what adventure-driven development's about. So let's keep going.
That's all ways to get you to work overtime. Agile companies will not do that.
They won't force you, right? Adventure-driven companies won't force you, but you'll want to do it. But you got to be careful with that shit because you can only do it for certain periods of time, short bursts, and you can't make that the main thing, and that's sustainable. It just won't. It won't. It's better to have a little bit of slower pace. So until you get some traction, then you may have to do a little bit more. But that's just how it is, man.
Because I know that tired people can't do good work.
True.
You have to be able to come in every day rested and ready to go. And if you can't do that, you can't be agile.
True. Yeah. So you can't push yourself too hard because you will. There's an edge. There's a limit. And even if you just try and play at the limit, eventually that's just not gonna be a successful thing. So you're gonna have to there's times you put on the gas and times you let up the gas. Put on the gas, let off the gas. And you can't be top down told this stuff. You have to be bottom up wanting to do it voluntarily, because if you try and force it on people, it definitely backfire.
The teams themselves have to organize themselves. Right? I did a class yesterday. At the end of the class, we did an exercise. I said, we're going to go on a break. When I get back, I want you guys broken up into 4 groups of 5 or 6. I want you to pick a project that you're going to work on. And then I left them alone. And I came back and I did it.
Right. So smart people that are creative, that are courageous, that can self-organize. And these managers, they don't They don't really like that because where's their job? Well, they don't got a fucking job. So get in the group, pull some tickets, pick a role, swim around or the role. UI, learn some UI, UX. Oh, it's scary. I have to learn HTML. Yeah, you might have to learn some HTML. Oh, I should hire someone for that. No, you get in there. You make some fucking phone calls to these customers. You talk to them. Do some support calls. How about answer some support tickets? Pull some tickets. Pull a dev ticket. Work on part of the code. There's lots of things you could do, man.
Well, the organization has to work that way.
Good plan.
You don't assign people to teams. You don't break up teams. Teams form. They do the job, and then maybe they reform, but usually not. They usually stay together as a team, and that's best. But it's up to the teams to make those decisions, not some sort of management layer.
And so a lot of this is luck, right? Who you end up with. You just happen to be over there with that person. You happen to be in the same city. You happen to be in the same company. You find someone whose vibe you're vibing with that has the same vision or is somewhere near the same vision. It's random as hell, man. And people want this to be like a process. It's like, this is random. There's dice rolls all over the goddamn place.
So I'm going to finish this by thinking about Charles Darwin. Is that Agile is by far the most effective way to develop software. And the companies that do things in an Agile way are going to have a huge evolutionary competitive advantage over the companies that don't.
Okay, I need some evidence of this. The ADD stuff is because I have evidence because I was working in these companies and I can describe what was going on at the time. And I don't know how much of that stuff is the real thing or not, but I'm trying to categorize and compare these things. I'm trying to describe a process it really comes from the inside. It really goes from the inside. That's the thing. You can't push it in and out from the outside, right? This isn't a top-down installable process. Now he's doing some sales here, and I respect the game.
Those big corporations that I was just talking about, they're the dodos. Is that they'll keep doing what they're doing, but their competitors who are working in an Agile way are not limited in the same way that the corporations are limiting themselves.
So I'm talking about the adventure-driven stuff. This is how all this stuff happens. You go through some of my previous videos. I go through all those examples of all these companies and all these technologies that we used and take for granted today. We're all driven by adventure-driven people who were going up a path that was not quite trodden by anybody yet. And they were up there because they just thought it was interesting and fun and cool. And you found out there's other people that are interested in the same thing. And that's not a top-down approach, guys.
So they're going to just wither away. Maybe this should be a picture of Marx instead of a picture of Darwin. But the point, in other words, the point that I'm making is that eventually evolution will help us here. Eventually the companies that can't do things in an Agile way will cease to exist.
True. That's what happens.
But most companies don't have that as a goal. It's not part of their...
I'm talking about the adventure-driven way. I mean, eventually, if you have a good idea that's good enough, you're going to have preservers that'll come in and take over that process and maintain it and refine it, blah, 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 extend it. But the initial push is always adventure-driven.
Their corporate mission statement that they will cease to exist in 5 or 10 years because the competitor can move faster.
Correct.
So really, when it comes to agility, we have no choice. We have to embrace change and just do it.
You don't have to. Those companies will still exist around because they make so much money. They can absorb so much bad ideas and bad advice. But if you want to take a slice of their pie and not try and worry about what it's called, the adventure-driven way of doing it is like find the problem, try and slice off, find a customer, connect those two together. You're doing it. That's adventure. So let's let him finish up here.
So that's what I have to say.
Okay, so that's Alan's thing. So I'm going to leave links to that in the deedly-do below. Give me a like and subscribe. I'm Chris Thanis. I like to rant about software development and other things like that. I'll talk to you soon.